Marvel and DC, or the Big Two, have been rivals for decades. Whether it's comics, film, television, or merchandise, these guys have been duking it for a really long time. Sometimes Marvel comes out on top MCU, and sometimes DC is the one that gets bragging rights on the TV. Either way, there's an unending debate about which company is better, and it pretty much depends on who you ask, because both have rabid fan bases. Oscar Wilde once said, "Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery that mediocrity can pay to greatness." The house of ideas can run out of inspiration just as the distinguished competition can lose the plot. Often one is not better than the other, and let's face it, without this rivalry, we would have most likely missed out on some truly exceptional stories. Every DC character seems to have a Marvel counterpart, but there are many for whom the similarities run much deeper than a power set. Some of these heroes share a great deal more. Here are 10 DC and Marvel characters who are strikingly similar. Number 1. Green Arrow and Hawkeye. Both Marvel and DC felt they needed to have excellent archers in their stable, and these two fit that bill. Though Clint Barton aka Hawkeye started off as a criminal, Oliver Queen aka Green Arrow was always a do-gooder that mimicked Batman a little too much. Other than being the master archers for their respective universes, they also share a bizarre similarity when it comes to spouses. Green Arrow married the Bird Team superhero Dinah Lance aka Black Canary, and Hawkeye also married the Bird Team superhero Barbara Morse aka Mockingbird. Number 2. The Vision and Red Tornado. Do superhero androids dream of electric sheep? The Vision and the Red Tornado probably do. Not only are they both visually similar, but even their backstories mirror each other. Both were artificial humans created with the intention of destroying a superhero team, the Avengers and the Justice Society of America respectively, but eventually saw the error of their ways and became members of the very groups they were sent to destroy. Number 3. Elongated Man and Mr. Fantastic. The goofy ability of elasticity is not just contained to the more popular Reed Richards aka Mr. Fantastic. DC's Ralph Dibny, better known as the Elongated Man, has practically the exact same skill as the patriarch of the Fantastic Four, though one is the head of a scientific organization and the other is a detective. Both are depicted as extremely intelligent and gifted in their respective fields. Number 4. Doom Patrol and X-Men. It is usually not fair to compare superhero teams, but the striking similarities between Doom Patrol and the X-Men are too big to ignore. Not only are both these teams made up of characters who are social outcasts due to their abilities, but the teams are both led by immensely intelligent older men who are confined to wheelchairs. The X-Men have Professor Charles Xavier and the Doom Patrol have Dr. Niles Calder, aka Chief. Seeing as how these two teams debuted only 3 months apart, Doom Patrol making it to the stands first, their resemblance are a little suspect. Number 5. Dr. Fate and Doctor Strange. The big two certainly are no strangers to magic, but when your most powerful sorcerers both share a doctorate, it feels a little too tight-knit. To be fair, even though Doctor Strange is about to be a bigger household name, Dr. Fate predates the Sorcerer Supreme by over 20 years. This similarity was not lost on Marvel, and when the gimmicky Amalgam Comics was launched, which is a limited run combining Marvel and DC characters into new heroes, the two characters were melded together to form Doctor Strange Fate. Number 6. Swamp Thing and Man-Thing. Yet another case where even the names are nearly analogous, but here we have another example of backstories lining up. Both creatures were originally scientists that were turned into their respective teams due to an accident. Both are often portrayed as lone monsters wandering their native swamplands. Swamp Thing in Louisiana and Man-Thing in the Florida Everglades, and both were even subjected to less than stellar film adaptations. Number 7. Aquaman and Namor. It makes sense to riff on the lost city of Atlantis for some good superhero shenanigans, and it was such a good idea that both Marvel and DC decided to do it. Marvel got out of the gate first in 1939 with Namor, aka the Submariner, and DC followed suit a mere 2 years later with Aquaman. It is interesting that both characters usually find themselves in contentious positions with their superhero counterparts due to their allegiance to their undersea kingdoms. Number 8. The Atom and Ant-Man. Why does shrinking seem like an incredibly advantageous superpower? It is certainly fun to see everyday objects become mammoth structures, but the concept of being incredibly small looks to make one more vulnerable than powerful. Still, both Marvel and DC decided to have their own tiny titans as regular staples of their respective super teams. This is another case where things seem a little suspect as an Ant-Man debuted only 4 months after the first appearance of the Atom. Number 9. Thanos and Darkseid. Cosmic despots always make for imposing and interesting villains, so the big two decided they both needed to have one. DC got to the table first with Darkseid, ruler of Apocalypse, and Marvel played catch-up 2 years later with Thanos the Mad Titan. Besides looking similar, both characters are obsessed with some form of total obliteration. Thanos worships an anthropomorphized version of death, appropriately called Death, while Darkseid gets a little more sci-fi by constantly searching for the anti-life equation. Number 10. Deathstroke and Deadpool. Probably the most flagrant entry on this list. Marvel's Deadpool is an admitted homage, which is the industry way of saying rip-off, to DC's super assassin Deathstroke, a character who was around for over a decade before the merge with a mouse showed up. Not content with making his look and name ape Deathstroke, creators Rob Liefeld and Fabian Nicieza got lazy when it came to their creations alias. Deathstroke's name is Slade Wilson, and Deadpool's name is Wade Wilson. Talk about giving it no effort. So, do you agree with this list? Tell me what you think in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching. 私だって何も思い出せない